This is the Monday, April 26th, 2021, regular session of the Mason City Schools Board of Education. The board has been convened to a work session and an executive session, and now we're ready to convene our regular session. So the next item on our agenda, if you would stand and join me with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, where's the flag?
Oh. There is one outside. So.
All right.
All right, there it is.
Somebody sing.
They took the flag.
All right. We have
Where's the flag?
straight through the window.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let the record reflect that we are not doing the pledge of the fire alarm in the corner.
There is a flag flying right outside the building.
All right. Well, I know a new agenda item for the next meeting before it even takes place.
Purchase
All right.
of a new flag.
Our next item on the agenda is the approval of the March 9th, 2021 board minutes, April 6th, 2021 board minutes, and April 13th, 2021 board minutes. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Sean?
Mr. Galvin?
Yes.
Mrs. Yingling?
Yes.
Mr. Wise?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mrs. Bakshi?
Yes.
5-0.
Item number 6, superintendent's presentation. Jonathan?
Yes, thank you, President Galvin. Thank you, board, for giving us a second tonight. We have two presentations this evening. The first, I'm going to invite Tina Roberts to join us and to introduce some of our amazing artists, and we're going to hear a little bit about their story tonight. And so, Tina, I'll allow you to tell a little bit of background, what this recognition is and what it means to us, and then we'll turn it over to the real all-stars tonight. Thanks, Tina.
Okay, sure. So the Scholastics Art and Writing Awards are a regional and national competition. So it starts off at the regional level, where it's, the communities in our area all the way through like northern Kentucky and up to almost Dayton. And so we submit artwork. Anybody can submit artwork, and there's no theme or anything, in a variety of mediums as well. So the judging takes place at the regional level first, and there's honorable mention, silver keys, and gold keys. Anything that gets a gold key automatically goes on to the national judging. Okay. So they went through that judging and then went on to the national level and have won medals based on that. So this, like I said, it's national, so it's a really big deal. It's a very high honor. We're very excited for our students that they have achieved this level of success in their area of expertise. I am not as familiar with the writing award, so I apologize, because I'm an art teacher, so this is the writing side. But Estelle, would you like to come up and talk about yours first?
That'd be great.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
And I'm just going to give a little bit of introduction of Estelle, just because I know so Estelle is a freshman, which is astounding to win a gold medal as a freshman. It puts her in very, very unique company. And in all of your board packets and for our executive team leaders, we gave a copy, Estelle, of your incredible essay your personal essay that you wrote, which was submitted by your English teacher. But it really is incredibly moving, and I'd love for you to introduce yourself, but also share, maybe just for all of our audience, a little bit of the spark that you had that helped you write this incredible personal essay, Kiddie Pool.
Okay, thank you. So I wrote Kiddie Pool about an experience I had when I lived in Arkansas. So I moved around a lot when I was younger, and I lived in Arkansas for about 3 years. And while I was there, we went to this place called Little Rock Athletic Club. So they had summer programs there, and my parents worked a lot, so I stayed there a lot. And one day when I was there at the pool, there was a younger girl, and she came up to me and just said that I was black. And I argued with her about it, which was pretty silly, but for some reason that experience stuck with me for a long time. And so in this piece, I just described it and analyzed maybe why I reacted that way, and that's about it.
Wow. That's great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Estelle.
Thank you for.
And then Ellie Sabatino, who is a senior, received a silver medal with her photo. So I'll let her come up and talk a little bit about that. Yeah, come around, however you want to. Clearest route.
All right, so hi everyone. So my inspiration for this piece was we were doing a portrait series in Photo 3, and I knew that I really wanted to touch on like the different masks that people wear, and like not literally because COVID, but more of like more representation of how people can hide behind their emotions and can act sort of happy on the outside, but can be more feeling some deeper feelings inside. So it was also around Halloween. So what I decided to do was I did what I call the ghost photo shoot, where I did my sister is up there, and we had her in a sheet, and the two photos on the outside that weren't submitted, they were her holding up a balloon like as a little happy ghost. But the photo in the middle, I really wanted to capture like how people can feel on the inside, which is why like I used excessive shadows, and her face is so like darkened into the side, and she really just has no emotion. And then you can't see it very well up there, but her eyes are blue, which is kind of supposed to be the difference between like the black and white and what's really physical inside somebody's mind. So yeah, I really enjoyed doing it.
Wow. Thank you.
And lastly, Tia Yampati, did I say it right? Thank you, Tia. Won silver medals, two silver medals for her two paintings that she did during quarantine last spring. So you can see her working at her little desk and I'll let you talk about the other one. But and she also was nominated at the regional level for the Thank you for reminding, American Visions Award. So that is chosen, they choose 5 at each region for that honor to then be judged at the national level. So she was chosen out of thousands of entries for that honor as well. So I just wanted to recognize that as well. You can come on up and talk about both of those.
Great.
All right. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Yeah, the piece on the left, that was me in the beginning of quarantine. I was kind of like enjoying RLE because like, I'll admit it, there's not a lot of work. Yeah, and I was kind of that was like the beginning of like the narrative of my portfolio, which was me throughout quarantine and experiencing like a range of emotions. And then the piece on the right, the one with the mosquitoes, that one's like in the middle of the narrative, and that was actually during like summer. Our AC broke, and like it felt like a month, but it was probably realistically like 2 weeks. Yeah, so the mosquitoes never came inside. It was like outside, but I mean, I just needed to represent that somehow. So yeah, those are both of the pieces. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would love to have all 3 of our students come back up to the podium so that the board can ask you a couple of questions as well. So if our students would come right back, we'd love to have you join.
And I just wanted to point out, those were oil paintings, right? Or acrylic? Yeah. Acrylic. And I just love the detail in her rug that is on the floor in both of those, and the amazing amount of time that must have taken. Beautiful.
Yeah, I'll say that for sure the 2 visual art pieces, I honestly thought this was, the all photography based, so the fact that it's not is just kind of stunning. Thank you for sharing these with us. I think that a common theme I see in all 3 of these pieces is they really reflect each of your willingness to share a part of yourself and some vulnerability with the outside world, and that's something, there's a lot of risk in doing that, but I hope that you'll all, I don't know, you can maybe share with us the time span with which you completed your various assignments, and something that you might take away from that, because that's something, for the rest of your lives, that period, whether it's a week or a month or a year, you're always going to look back on this piece and associate it with this past year. So I'm curious, how long did these pieces take?
Yeah. Okay, so mine is kind of like a last minute thing. I decided to do it last minute. I came up with the idea very last minute. So it was probably like 2 to 3 weeks, maybe a month.
Well, do you know Calvin and Hobbes, the comic strip? One of my favorite Calvin and Hobbes comic strips talks about there's no greater brilliance than that's procured from last minute panic. So congratulations.
Estelle, sorry, on that point though, real quick, did you say this was part of a class assignment too?
It was like a personal narrative.
Yeah.
But I didn't use that idea. So
Got
I
it, okay.
brainstormed different ideas, but I ended up not using that. And then later on, I decided I wanted to do it like as a separate thing on my own.
Yeah, okay. That's great. Thank you.
How about the other two? How long did yours take?
Oh, yours is up there.
Sure. So for mine, I think taking the actual photos itself took about an hour and a half. My sister and I actually went to the park behind school, and it was really fun because we ran around for an hour through the woods, and we had our masks on, and I was like, quick, take your mask off for the picture. And it was right around that time. And then I would say developing in the darkroom took about maybe 2 weeks to 3 weeks. I had a lot of trouble with that photo in particular because I did solarization, which is where you do a first exposure and then you expose it again before developing it fully. And for some reason, I could not get it right, but it turned out okay. So yeah, I would say 2 to 3 weeks.
So this isn't digital
No.
editing. This is black
this
or
was-
darkroom.
Yeah.
Oh, fascinating.
This was taken with a film camera
That
and
is
then
neat.
developed in the darkroom, and then I used oil paint on the eyes.
It's beautiful. I did that when I was in high school, and my son's like, darkroom, what? I mean, film, it's just a concept that, a lot of people, especially your age, have no concept of. So and it's difficult to manage developing that. I'm very impressed, very beautiful.
Thank you so much.
So both of them took quite a bit of time. The one on the left, took 4 or 5 weeks. And then the one on the right probably took 3 or 4 weeks. So both of them used acrylic paints, and I was kind of in the middle of the process, I was like, why did I use acrylic? I had to keep mixing paints. It was painful. But then afterwards, I was like, yeah, I like the results. So I kept using it.
Were you in a pose and a mirror to the side? Did you have to keep looking over to catch that, or what?
Yeah, that's how I developed the concept. So then I had to set up a camera and use the timer option on the camera, and then that's how I took reference pictures.
Wow.
Yeah.
It looks like a photograph.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Awesome. I think for me, the amazing part of any creation is probably because I'm not a naturally creative person, but that moment of inspiration, the perspective of the artist or the writer. It's always been the most impressive piece of creating for me. The work after and how you bring it to life is clearly a talent as well, but the inspiration in all of your pieces are, for me, the most touching, and I appreciate you sharing them with us.
I was going to say something similar. We talk a lot about to our students who we celebrate their achievements, and they talk about their experience of the thing that they achieved, whether it's an athletic achievement or an academic achievement. It's really interesting because you're telling the story of your experience through your art even, right? And so we talk about the fact that what sets our students here in Mason apart, I think, is that you're able to communicate your experience. You're able to think about it and appreciate your experience and go to that deep level yourself, but then to communicate it to other people. And you clearly communicated what you were trying to do with professionals who know a lot better than any of us about what great art is to win these awards. And so we're so proud of you, and knowing that that's really your art talent is amazing, and your writing talent, Estelle, is incredible. But to be able to connect with other human beings through that, man, that's going to set you apart going forward, and we couldn't be more proud. So thanks
Yeah,
for sharing.
I mean, you're early in your journey in using your talents that can't be described any other way than God-given when I look at this. I mean, it's just amazing to impact other people. And one of the things you learn as you grow up is you don't know how you impact other people sometimes. And so this kind of, the time and effort you put into this was very nice that you got an award for, and we're here to celebrate that today. It's high honor. But the big thing is how that talent's going to impact others. Estelle, someone's going to read your narrative and be impacted by it, right? And I've never been somebody that can talk elegantly about art, but I can certainly be impacted by art. I just can't explain how it is. And then, you know, I think, Ellie, one of the biggest things we're dealing with today is when we look in our phone, we see pictures of people, and sometimes they're not indicative of what's behind that. The big things going on in our society that I think you captured really, really well, and it's a tremendous insight that you have. So congratulations to all of you for the award, but the bigger impact you'll all have is how you use these talents and others to affect others, and you're off to a great start. Congratulations.
Thanks for sharing with us. Tony.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. You are an inspiration. Thanks so much. I think if you all would come right down, we do have one gift for you before you sit down, and then we'll go to our next. As you're coming up here, did you hide anything fun in the details of the carpet? It's in car, okay. It does, okay.
Your little sister danced with my daughter when they were little. I saw your mom after I saw the last name. Yeah. Yeah, nice job. Yeah.
Thank you.
We have some book bags for you, or backpacks.
Great job.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, beautiful work.
I have one more presentation.
Those are, I think those are for the, trying to snag that. You're gonna have to write another essay.
Good job, thank you.
Great.
Thank you, good job.
All right, well, thank you. Let's give not just them, but their parents a hand as well, just for their support in this process. Thanks so much. I know I was in art at one point in time as a major. My parents spent a lot of money buying me all kinds of fun things to play around with. So thank you for your investment, parents, in all the messes you may or may not have cleaned up along the way and proofread and everything else. Our next presentation is also just another moment of inspiration in our community. We want to take a second to press pause and thank a community partner that has been, a lot of times you don't know all the things that are going on behind the scenes with your partners. When we have crisis that hits our community, oftentimes it's our law enforcement or our first responders that are there, and they're working in concert with our crisis team. And so I want to take a second to just hit pause and to introduce and thank Lieutenant Todd Snelling and Deputy Trent Barker for being a part of that process and always being such a great partner in our community, and especially during some of the more recent crises that we've gone through, and just your amazing support and just inspiration through that. So we want to thank you for being a part of that.
Thank you.
We value the partnership. I've been fortunate enough to be part of Todd's group on the Safe and Inviting Schools, and kind of seeing the back end of the systems you have in place to support kids. And on that day, they absolutely worked. We knew what we had to do in some phone calls we make, so I'm appreciative to you and to you, because I know me and you talked at 9 or 10 o'clock that night still. So what you're doing is working. There's no doubt about it. We have a job to do, but when you have good partners, it's kind of easy to do. So we are appreciative. We really are. Thank you for having us.
Well, we appreciate both of you. And if you could tell just a quick piece of your story, like just how long you've been with the department, and if you have any other interesting things we should know about, and then we might have some other questions for you.
Sure. My name is Deputy Trent Barker. I've been in law enforcement for almost 12 years now. I am a Mason graduate of 2006.
That's great.
I've been a part of the field training officer program, which I've been entrusted with by the sheriff to be able to train the new recruits that we bring into our office. And also next year I will be the school resource officer for King's local school district. Unfortunately, you know, crisis like we're speaking of, these are things that we often come about sometimes on a daily basis. Most of the time we come in contact with people, it could be most likely their worst day of their life. But being able to have a good communications with people, being able to have them and trust us, especially in a great community like this, makes things a lot easier, and really appreciate the opportunity to be here, and thank you for inviting us.
So I've been with the Sheriff's Office approaching almost 20 years now. It's something I love, and I love to do. I do heavily rely on people like Trent here to get me through the day. I'm more of an administrator now. It's tough for me to say that, being a road cop for years, but guys like Trent are the guys that get it done on a daily basis. But we are appreciative of the partnership we have with Mason City Schools.
Well, gentlemen, we thank you for being here, and your point's not lost on us that a lot of times you're stepping into the most, the highest crisis moment in someone's life, and that's a sensitive moment to be a part of and to be trusted in. So thank you for being a part of that with us, and I'll turn it over to the board if they have any other comments or thoughts for you.
I think, you know, we've all, we've been working a couple months now to try and find a way and a time to honor you all. So we're really excited, first of all, that it's worked out with your schedules that we could bring you here tonight. Personal observation, I feel like, you know, for a variety of reasons, the last year has been a challenging and as difficult one as any to be a police officer. And for you all, it's just a reminder for us that how appreciative we are to have you in our district, and especially knowing that, like you mentioned, Deputy Barker, that a lot of times when you are facing, you know, crises and you're meeting with people, it can be on the worst day of their life, and the professionalism that you all exhibit, it helps us, Lieutenant Snelling, as you alluded to, keep our schools a safe and inviting space, keep our communities safe and inviting. We know, you know, I know she's not here tonight, but Deputy Sarah Vaught, you know, just a stark reminder of how any call you can go out on, you're taking your life into your hands, and we are just very grateful and appreciative to have you in our district as partners with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and real quick, sorry, I think we have a couple more things probably to say. But I just wanted to say, just in case it's not clear for everybody who lives in Mason, because this is something that's unique to Ohio, I think. It's probably other places are like this too, but you know, we hear a lot about the Mason City Police. We hear the City of Mason, the City of Mason, and we do partnerships, and we talk about the City of Mason a lot. But I should know what percentage of our families live in the township, but I don't know off the top of my head. But the City of Mason has jurisdiction in the city, but Deerfield Township makes up a huge part, and that's where I happen to live, of our actual district. And so when if we're just talking about calls, there's a call that's in the township. These are the officers that are going to go and be with our families from the sheriff's office. And so just to kind of orient anybody who's watching this and a little confused by that, just to put that out there, but also just to say that we don't get the chance or take the chance often enough to do this. And so that's one of the reasons why we're so thrilled, is that we don't get to see you guys much. So we're just really thrilled to have you here, but more thrilled to have the partnership and to have the flexibility that you bring to the partnership too, and that you have the faith and you see what we're doing here and can tap into that and work directly together to take care of what needs to be done, you know, on the spot. That means the world to us, because this is everything is fast. I have no idea what it's like, but it's fast, and everything's getting faster, right? And so we just appreciate the flexibility, the service, and the partnership so much, and so grateful to have you here tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank you both for your service. I think everyone kind of knows that law enforcement can be a very dangerous, stressful job, but it's also it's added on to by sometimes crazy schedules and circumstances that are unforeseen. And I'm not real sure about you, Lieutenant Snelling, but I think you, Deputy Barker, have some family history of law enforcement in your family.
Yes, that's correct.
And thank you both for giving back to your community in that very, very special way.
Thank you.
Todd happens to be a very close personal friend of mine, and I've known him for a lot of years, but I realize how incredibly difficult it is to do what you're doing right now. And this department, and I know personally because I work for Warren County Sheriff's Office, is one of the most professional law enforcement departments, and we are incredibly blessed to have you protecting our neighborhoods. You're such role models for what is good about being a police officer and what it means to care about your community and do what's right and treat people fair and be a role model for kids. And I'm just so thankful that you get to represent us.
Thank you.
And I would just add, most of the work goes on well before a crisis hits in order to be ready. And that takes discipline, diligence, but it also takes personal commitment to be at the top of your game. And we appreciate that you put that time in with us ahead of time in our committees. We certainly appreciate Sheriff Sims for his, constant, support of the partnership, and each of you too for your service. And during this difficult year, we can't echo enough how much we appreciate your service, and we support you every day. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And before you leave, we've got some swell parting gifts we would like to bestow upon you, so.
If you come on down, we'll give you your gift, maybe. Take good care of you. Thanks. We appreciate you, Mayor. Appreciate you. Let's get those out.
You can put that next to your bed and fill it with water.
Right next to the diploma you got, yeah.
Tell your dad, I said hello, give him your dad, and your brother too. How's he doing? Excellent, excellent.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here tonight, really appreciate everything you do.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. No, absolutely. You're terrific to work with.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was trying to.
Thank you very much.
I took one. We're shaking hands. I don't care what protocol is, right?
There's students and there's adults.
All right. With that, I think, are we at an end of our superintendent's presentation? So this is typically a point in our meetings where we allow folks who are here for just the superintendent's presentations to move on with your evening. And I will add one last final round of applause for all of our guests and featured folks.
And a sibling who held up really well.
Yeah. And appreciate your families.
Mrs. Roberts, thank you
See ya.
for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you very
Gentlemen.
much.
Thank you. Tell Eric we said hello.
I will.
Thank you.
Tell Olivia hi. I miss her.
All right. Our next item on the agenda is the hearing of the public. Do we have any tonight, Tracy?
Nothing tonight.
All right. Item number 8, administrative personnel superintendent's recommendations. Do I have a motion?
So moved?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I just want to hit pause for a second because anytime we have a special moment to recognize an administrator coming into our Mason Comet family and they're bringing their family here, I know I'll let you vote on this, but I would like us to have a second just to meet our new teammate, if that's okay. So I just wanted to put that out there and let you know really quickly the process for getting an opportunity to be a part of this is not easy. Coming through this interview process is difficult, and that Mr. Dodd has a team of people you're working with. We have a group at central office, and so we work through this whole process. So to be at this point and to be recommended to the board, they've gone through quite a process. So I just want to remind us of that, and I'll let you go through with the next piece, and then we can hit pause for a second.
Sure thing. Sean?
Mrs. Yingling?
Yes.
Mr. Wise?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mrs. Batchy?
Yes.
Mr. Galvin?
Yes.
5-0.
All right. Tina, if you don't mind, Mrs. Drake, come over, just introduce yourself, where you're from, and then maybe the wonderful people who are with you, if that's okay.
Well, hello. I'm Tina Drake. We currently live in Wellington, Ohio, which is in southern Lorain County, about 3 hours north. So I brought with me tonight my husband, Tom, our oldest daughter, Jordan, who lives in Troy, And our youngest daughter, Abby, is a junior at Baldwin Wallace, and so she's got some things going on at campus next year, or right now, to finish up for the year. I'm really excited to come down to Mason. This opportunity is, never thought it would happen. So super excited to be here, and thank you very much for believing in me and putting me on your team.
Well, welcome. We're excited to have you. And welcome to the rest of the family, and to a daughter that might not be here, welcome as well.
She's on the phone. We have her on speaker.
She's on the phone.
She didn't want to miss it.
Hopefully we'll meet her at some point in time. And congratulations, Mr. Dodd and your team. Thanks for the
Thank you
going through the
very much.
process.
Thank you, welcome.
Aren't you glad? We used to do it where we would have met you first and learned about you and then voted, and it was like at some point we're like, why are we making them do that? Because, you never know, right? So at some point we
Ironing out any
decided, let's get that vote done so you don't have to think about that piece, and welcome.
All right.
Yeah. Thanks so much for being here. Appreciate you making the time.
Thank you. All right, our next item on the agenda is item 9, non-district funded positions. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Sean?
Mr. Wise?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mrs. Batchy?
Yes.
Mr. Galvin?
Yes.
Mrs. Yingling?
Yes.
5-0.
Item number 10, certified personnel, superintendent's recommendation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Really quick, this is item 10. I didn't want to miss this. I have a note here. Anytime we have retirements, we just want to, one, thank people for their service, and we have some names on here, that are just really a part of the fabric of who we are. So I just want to hit pause, thank everyone on here that is moving on to the next chapter of whatever that looks like, congratulate you, but just thank you sincerely. Your service to Mason City Schools has made a huge impact and difference. So I just want to recognize that. Thank you for allowing me to say a word.
I would jump on that, and particularly like to recognize Barb Schuba. Having had lots of interaction with Ms. Schuba over the years with our kids, and seeing her in action, managing lots of exciting classroom activities, extra credit activities, always building relationships with students, but then also for at least 10 years, I would say, has been one of the key advisors for National Honor Society, which ends up being one of the largest in Ohio, and making those experiences rich for each and every one of those students is something that really stands apart, and she deserves a lots of appreciation for. And my guess is she, along with other, certainly retiring teachers, would have just legions of students out there who would love to send their best wishes if they all knew that she was retiring. So not, sometimes we hold back comments because we don't have them for everyone, and I know the other names too, but I'm going to particularly call out and thank Barb for her service to Mason.
I'll add to that too. During my tenure on the board, I've had the pleasure of working with both Barb and Audrey Gorman in negotiations in some very early years. Really wonderful people, wonderful additions to our staff. I have a special place in my heart for Barb. She was one of my son's first soccer coach at the age of 4, 5, just to show you the span of her patience from high school all the way down. But yeah, I wish them all a wonderful retirement and the best wishes for their next stage in their life.
All right. Any further discussion? Sean?
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mrs. Batchy?
Yes.
Mr. Galvin?
Yes.
Mrs. Yingling?
Yes.
Mr. Wise?
With regret, yes.
5-0.
All right, item number 11, supplemental personnel, superintendent's recommendation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Sean?
Mrs. Batchy?
Yes.
Mr. Galvin?
Yes.
Mrs. Yingling?
Yes.
Mr. Wise?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
5-0.
Item number 12, resolution for hiring non-certified supplemental personnel, superintendent's recommendation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Sean?
Mr. Galvin?
Yes.
Mrs. Yingling?
Yes.
Mr. Wise?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mrs. Batchy?
Yes.
5-0.
Item number 13, classified personnel superintendent's recommendation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Sean?
Mrs. Yingling? Mr. Wise?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mrs. Batchy?
Yes.
Mr. Galvin?
Yes.
5-0.
Item number 14, certified personnel, additional duties. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I just want to point out that this is work that we have planned for, I believe it's happening this summer, correct? Yes. And it's exciting work. You can see in here, it's basically helping our teachers by integrating some of the Big Rock work that we've had. So it's taking it from what we have been working on, deepening that work, and giving practical action steps for teachers that are designed and built by teachers. So it's teachers helping teachers and professionals through our organization to continue the good work that we have, bringing personalized learning, our inclusive excellence work together, and our culture work, and making some practical ways for that to be applied in the classroom. So that will happen this summer. So that's what this piece is here.
Thanks, Jonathan. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I would just say that, I think more than ever, the bar is raising every single day in our society to make sure that we do this work well and with thought and balance and focus on students. And so I have high confidence in the names on here to manage the noise and come up with things that will impact students for the rest of their life that will help develop them. So it's not without a moment here to make that comment.
Absolutely.
Any other discussion? Sean?
Mr. Wise?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mrs. Batchy?
Yes.
Mr. Galvin?
Yes.
Mrs. Yingling?
Yes.
5-0.
Item number 15, new and revised board policies. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just a reminder how the policy review works. We have policy committee that meets. We run through the policies that are being recommended. We review those as a committee. We bring those to the executive team, then we bring them to the board for review. There is a first reading that happens on the board agenda a month later, the second reading, and the second reading, we vote those into existence. The ones on here, for the most part, are typically when there's an update in the law and the language changes, so we make sure that we get the new language placed in here. For anybody that wonders how this process works, that's how that works, and we can always go into more detail if someone would like to sit down and see that behind the scenes. So, thank you.
Thanks, Jonathan. Any other discussion? Sean?
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mrs. Batchy?
Yes.
Mr. Galvin?
Yes.
Mrs. Yingling?
Yes.
Mr. Wise?
Yes.
5-0.
Item number 16, action items, superintendent's recommendations. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
If I could just run through a couple of these, or a few of these, and just so you know what's here, because there's a lot of action items here. The first, you'll see the competent classroom proposal, professional development. This is our continued work now, 3 years with Allison Zamuda and her team, and working and integrating that in to make sure our teachers, to your point, it's critical that we do this work well. And so taking the time with experts that are nationally and globally recognized is something that we are committed to, and so you'll see Allison on here as well.
And those 4 teachers that we approved will be working with Allison to do some of that work.
That's right. Yeah. So that's something we take for granted. But I do want to hit pause. I probably say it all the time, but our teachers and our administrators are working with the top experts in the nation, if not the globe, on the work that we actually believe in. I mean, it's not that we have sought out and built this as more than just a contract. This is a relationship we have with them. We have teachers who are publishing things nationally that we just didn't have before. So there's just so much more to this, and I know I go by it really quickly, like, oh, there's Allison again. But we do take it for granted, because we do have this great relationship with these national experts. So, yes, thank you for just slowing me down.
And I
for a
remember that
minute.
for just a second too. I see those follow some of those national experts on Twitter, like Allison, and I know they have products to sell. I get it, but they are also very impressed with what they see when they come to Mason, and so that
I think it's mutually beneficial.
that is a big
yeah.
deal. People should know about. So
Yes.
Yep.
And Yeah, and we do. We get so much benefit and so much more than what we pay for. We don't say that out loud, but yes, we do. There's other items on here that I just want to walk through. Thought exchange is something that we are going to test drive for a year to just see how that is. We've looked at it for about 10, and so, we don't act quickly. We go through things, we vet them, and then we said, this is a piece that might help us with that 2030 vision. It's one tool. It's not the only tool, but it is one tool that helps us continue to support the work. And we've already started to use that as a helpful tool to give us some direction as we talked about some of the things even today with the board. We have some really important contracts on here, really important that will build stability for our district over not just the next 3 years, even though it's a 3-year piece, but it will build stability for the future because it's keeping and retaining and attracting talent to our district. So you'll see those in here with our teachers and with other members of our team. And we'll talk a little bit about it, I'm sure, here when we finish up.
That's the Lindner tennis contract you're talking about?
Well, that's an important one too, but that's not the big one, no. With our union representatives here in a minute that we'll hopefully get a picture opportunity with. But
Somebody's
thank you.
ears perked up in the back.
I was going to say, to be clear, he made that joke because our union representative. was
Yes,
sitting in
if
the
you
back.
can't see
So
them
there was
on
an
camera, we
audience.
have our negotiating team
Go for
here, and we'll have a second to invite you down to maybe say a word here in a minute. So give us just a moment. So you'll see that on here, which is so important and such a great story of relationship building that we've done in this district, and you'll hear from hopefully our teachers here in a second. And then school calendars on here, which is also a collaboration with our teachers and other administrators to build a school calendar. You'll see that on here so parents can start to plan. And there's some really creative things in here that that we really appreciate. And then we are getting a roof that is leaking fixed, which is good. So that is on here too. Might not be exciting, but it's necessary. And,
It's super exciting.
Only you would say
That's
that, right?
operations make sure that leaks, and the bigger context here is this is a roof that we have this wonderful relationship with our city. So tonight you're going to hear relationships with our union, relationships with our township, relationships with our city partners. And so this whole facility, if you're watching this and you're not familiar, Google it. This whole facility is not just a high school, but it's the community center. And so we do work in collaboration to make sure the facility is always well taken care of, and you'll see us working on a roof there.
And to be clear, this is our portion of the cost of fixing the roof. Just to highlight that, because most people, maybe not most people, but a lot of people who live here maybe weren't even here when we made that partnership to build the community center. So would you mind?
Yeah, so actually the cost of this, we have a separate fund that we combine with the city. Well, the school district puts in some money, the city puts in some money, and we use that shared fund to pay for the services for the shared spaces in the community center. So this will come out of that fund.
Yep, great, thank you.
And I know I'm highlighting a lot on here, but I just, at least one more that I want to point out because it is important. It's another partnership with the Linder Family Tennis Center. This piece alone, we've just learned so much. It's actually been a really fun journey to talk about where we're going to do graduation. And then we said, it's the first time ever we're going to have it at the tennis center. And then we said, wait. And people reached out very quickly to Tracy and to all of us said, that's not true. It's actually not the first time. We had graduation here in 1983 through 1988. Oh, but wait a second, not in 1986 because we moved over to the arena. So I've learned so much history just in this this moment of time, but we are really looking forward to that. And I think that has an opportunity to open up a relationship with the Linder Tennis Center that's even more comprehensive than just graduation. And that's something that we're really excited about. And so I want to thank Todd and his team for even just making that possible and getting us over there. And just the flexibility and creativity to make that work, because that was a timing piece that we didn't know if that'd come together, and the timing just worked out for us to do that. I think that's all for my portion of highlighting, unless anybody has any questions about any of the items that are on there that I didn't highlight.
Well, thank you, Jonathan. In no particular order, I will say the announcement the other week about using the Lindner Family Tennis Center for our high school graduation was very exciting, both to our community, to the board in particular. Working through those details with you and your team has really been a fun highlight of our recent meetings, and we're excited and praying for good weather that weekend, and excited also for the impact in the community for local businesses after, you know, the commencement is over, and hopefully families will take the opportunity to you know, visit and support our local businesses and restaurants and other folks while they're here, whereas in years past that might not have been such a convenient option for them. And then highlighting the contract that we are about to vote on here with our Mason Education Association and our union and bargaining team representatives. Thank you for coming here tonight. You know, this past year, we've kind of seen a crucible of things across the country, and seen where school boards and school districts have served as almost a, you know, testing ground for, you know, issues and things that sometimes don't really move the needle for our kids and for our communities. And we've seen districts that kind of get sideways and get off track for what's really important. And I have just been very grateful and, you know, impressed at every turn of the way with how our teachers and how our staff have responded to a lot of the challenges of the past year, how they've carried themselves with professionalism. And obviously this past year, you know, there's a recency bias here with all of the events that have gone on, and a lot of focus on, you know, 2020 and everything that comes with that. But we'd be remiss to not mention the fact that, you know, this agreement reflects a long-standing, you know, goal and message from our community at large, which is that our community values exceptional talent. We value recruiting and retaining that talent. And, you know, we hear about it all the time, but, you know, one of the most recent examples of that was in our April levy of 2020. We had overwhelming support from our community, and that is a reflection of how our teachers and how our staff carry themselves and the quality education that they deliver. So I think that this agreement will reflect all of those values and goals and balance those with the fiscal responsibility and the stewardship that this board has demonstrated for years and will continue to demonstrate as we move forward. So I am appreciative of the work that the teachers have done recently, and I think this reflects that. We know there's a one-time cash payment in here, but I'm also appreciative of the work that they've done over the years, and you know, getting to this point, and you know, being among the best and brightest in the region, and this reflects that with also their recognition of the community they serve and the, you know, the responsibility they have to be, you know, good stewards of taxpayer dollars. So with that, any further discussion?
Yeah, I think so. Are we doing that now, or are we going to talk again after we vote?
I think we'll have board commentary as
Okay.
well. Yeah.
Good. So we're reserving our time. We're making sure.
I also think we might have an opportunity here for a photo op as well. Yeah, after we vote on this, we'll see how it goes. All right, Sean?
Mrs. Batchy?
Yes.
Mr. Galvin?
Yes.
Mrs. Yangling?
Yes.
Mr. Wise?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
5-0.
Oh, yeah. Great.
And if we could take a pause and invite you all down to do a quick photograph here.
Could we have Tanya and Sean join, just as part of the bargaining team? Is that okay?
Oh, yes.
You get to slide out of the photo?
Oh, there you go. I'm behind the scenes. Come on up here.
Mr. Wilson, you appreciate this. At ME, they have dress like your, or no, MECC dress like your parents day tomorrow. And like, I'm at home working, and I'm in sweats and a sweatshirt all day, and Carrie, my wife, is in a big t-shirt. Anyways, that's in a sweatshirt.
Tracy, hold on.
We need to.
One mask, one no mask?
Yeah.
Sure. Yep. Mask first.
Our restroom.
All right, mask first. But you still got to smile with your eyes. 1, 2, 3.
It was-
Nice breather from that.
You're welcome to. I did that on purpose.
I'm the behind the scenes person, you know?
All right, item number 17, treasurer's.
Hold on one
I was
second.
gonna say, are
Can
we
we,
gonna,
can we let the record show that, Sean, you picked the worst day for the CAFR conversion, gap conversion and CAFR contract to get any credit on this. I know that's exciting for you and
That's
me,
very,
but
yeah. That's
wanna make
Kept
sure
kicking
that,
under that.
some
table.
things that accountants get excited about, and
That's
GAP
right.
is one of them, so, yeah.
all right.
All right, item number 17, treasurer's report. Do I have a motion?
so moved?
Second.
Any discussion? Sean?
Just to highlight
Oh, go ahead.
our normal monthly reports, but again, donations, I'm always grateful for and impressed by the amount of support we have from our community. A couple of donations from Kiwanis Club tonight, as well as some PTOs, so just thankful for all their support of the district.
Thanks, Sean. Any other discussion? All right, Sean?
Mr. Galvin?
Yes.
Mrs. Yingling?
Yes.
Mr. Wise?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mrs. Batchy?
Yes.
5-0.
Item number 18, superintendent committee reports. Arts and Activities Council?
At Arts and Activities Council, we approved some of the supplementals that you voted on tonight. And then most importantly, the high school's Hope Squad has been a culture changer for us at the high school. And when I think back to knowing that students had approached, administrators and concerned about suicide of their peers and feeling like they wanted more action. And having invested in Hope Squad at the high school, what we have seen is those students and the middle school team has said, we want to also have a middle school Hope Squad. And to watch what that will do as well as we continue to destigmatize asking for help. When I look at our Safe Schools tip line, are so many of the tips that come in that really do save lives of their peers are coming from Hope Squad leaders. We're thrilled that next year we will have a middle school Hope Squad as well, being led by Lindsay Sweat and Stephanie Brittingham, both incredible teachers and counselor at the middle school who we know are going to do an amazing job of shepherding that very important work that isn't putting the responsibility of responding to those issues, but it allows kids to tell us what they already are talking about, and then they can refer their peers for help. So we're thrilled about adding that as an opportunity at the middle school.
That's great.
Thanks, Tracy.
That's really great.
Business Advisory Committee?
Yeah, you,
Yeah, gosh, it feels like a lifetime ago, doesn't it? It was just not even 2 weeks ago. But I'm struggling because I'm not pulling up our agenda, and agendas are running together. But did we talk about journey
so
to
this is the
2030?
one we did the 2030 feedback, and then they also just overall gave us just feedback towards graduation, gave some updates on that. But yeah,
That was the other piece that I couldn't recall what else we talked about. But Jonathan, we've come to use that time with the business leaders in the community to bounce things off of them that you're already working on, or the leadership is already working on, and kind of just see how it hits leaders with different skill sets and leadership skill sets. And so it's always fantastic immediate feedback from them, and so that was really helpful as always, and good to be with them.
yeah, they're critical to our planning. You're exactly right, and their feedback's always spot on, especially coming from a business aspect. I always gain great insight, and they always have good follow-ups afterwards. So the conversation, typically, we have it there on Zoom, and then I get lots of follow-ups after that on what we're thinking. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Matt. DEI Council?
So we had several items. We also looked at the journey to 2030 and shared some of the thought exchange feedback, but really two of our major things that we looked at were connected to our OKRs. One of them, which has been about how we step up to bias, and this year we added a tool of reporting acts of bias to our existing Safe Schools tip line. So we gave an update about how that's going, and We've actually had 27 tips that have come in that have been about reporting an active bias, and we've been able to resolve 23 of those with a whole team of people who evaluate and make sure that at the end of the day, we're also closing the loop. So sometimes we would hear from people saying, this happened to me and nothing ever happened. The Safe Schools tip line is then now a place where I can go get resolution and know, and then if someone does want to not remain anonymous, we can also make sure that they're getting the help that they need. So that was one important part of our agenda. And then the other part is an exciting, we've had of our big rocks, a culture guide, we have a personalized learning guide, and our incredible teachers and staff who've been working in our inclusive excellence teams in our schools have recognized we really needed an inclusive excellence guide that really shares what Mason's definition of it is, that includes what our DEIJ principles are, so our diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice principles, and really serves as a placeholder when we're onboarding new staff, when we're showing folks what we mean by sharing some of the tools that have become not only our definition, but they can give life to what that means. So for instance, with our diversity principle, all of our staff has gone through training about the diversity wheel and how our dimensions of diversity. And so having those tools located as part of that guide, we think will just be the next iteration of how we can talk about inclusive excellence. And the committee our DEI council gave very rich, important feedback that just weighs, that's just so powerful for us as leaders and educators, because we have something in mind, and then when you hear from people in the community about how that feels to them, it just makes it a much better document. We get better each time, so we were very thrilled to be able to go through that with them.
Yeah, and as part of one of the feedback on OKRs too, we talked about the professional development that we had on our inclusive excellence work, which was teacher designed and teacher driven, which everybody shared, rivaled, and probably surpassed anything that any national organization that we did a contract for would do for us. And so just incredible that we know that we have incredible talent, but it makes us even more proud to see our talent helping each other in professional development. That's just incredible, and it was really great to hear get feedback and on that experience and paint that picture for the people on the council. And then on the guide, I say culture guide because that was our first one, and so that's the one that comes to mind. But I'm really excited about the inclusive excellence guide because Jonathan, tell me if you think about this differently, but the guides are in part putting down stakes for what we stand for as a Mason Schools community. This is who we are, and we're telling the world this is who we are, and this is what we mean when we say who we are. And so we spent it's the culture work is a foundational work just to get us all really rowing in the same direction so that we could do the substantive work together. It's just been incredible to see kind of how we roll out the guides and the work. And I'm really excited about this one because I say often that the inclusive excellence piece is actually the foundation for the other two rocks, really. I mean, you can't have personalized learning if we don't understand who our students are, for instance, right? And we can't have a real culture. We can't identify our culture and know where we want to go if we don't know who we are and how everybody feels about our culture, right? And that everybody feels like they are a part of our culture and valued. And so it's just incredible to see that work. It is so rich. I can't wait for everybody to see the finished product. You're all going to be proud. It's just, especially all of those guides taken together, it's really going to just show on paper, which we're not all about showing things on paper, but it looks really good too, who we are, what is Mason. So I'm excited about that and appreciated the time to go through it together.
Thanks, Matt and Tracy.
I just would like to make a comment. Thank you, both Matt and Tracy, for the work on that committee, but also specifically about the Safe Schools tip line. It's one thing to have a tool in your toolbox. It's a completely different thing to actually utilize it and to be able to say that we have progress and resolution because of it. And I think it's important for the community to know that we actually do use that, we act on it, and it's important.
Thanks, Connie. Facilities Committee?
Yes, we met actually last week. A lot of the contracts you see today, the primetime rental, the Linder Family Tennis Center contract, the roofing contract, which is major important. Those contracts were discussed. We also discussed, which I'll be bringing either the next meeting or the following meeting, are the preventative maintenance contracts for all of our HVAC. And just a little fact about that is we have 1.7 million square feet that we air condition each day, or heat, and roughly $40 million worth of HVAC mechanical components. So preventative maintenance is absolutely essential when it comes time to make sure things keep running so that we feel good in here, we keep the humidity out so that our kids can learn. So I will be bringing those contracts next month, presented those at this meeting. Wanted to present them one more time since it is a considerable amount of money, just to make sure we're all on the same page and I'm fulfilling what Mr. Cooper, Mr. Bevan, and the board would like when it comes to maintaining our facilities.
Thanks, Todd. And Mason Schools Foundation.
We had an exciting meeting that was really going through our projections of what we're going to do, which now started actually on Sunday, our grants. So the whole reason we exist is to be able to help fulfill teachers' dreams for how we take our students above and beyond. What are those projects, those innovative ideas that are beyond the scope of the district budget? And we have, I will say it from a first blush of our grant committee that met on Sunday night, we have some incredible dreams that I can't wait to see come into action. But this year, the foundation hits a really important milestone. This year, we will hit where we have funded $1 million worth of grants back to our teachers, which is incredible for those of us who started out on this journey together back. There was a dream of the journey in 2007, and we got off the ground in 2008. I don't know that we ever imagined it would be this quick, that we would be able to accomplish that, and so that's thrilling. And even tonight, we have a wonderful grant in action. Dan Bernstrom is an author that several of us got to see today, meeting with our MECC Comic Kids in person. He met with online learners last week, and he's doing a community conversation tonight that I did happen to see a tweet with him wearing his Mason Schools Foundation t-shirt during that. And so he's the author of several really terrific books, including, now I'm blanking, Gator, yes. And I better get up to speed on my young literature soon. But he did a beautiful talk and talked about how, as a piece of his own learning journey, he struggled as a reader and what it took to do that, and really holds up beautiful what we talk about all the time with inclusive excellence, windows and mirrors for our young readers. So a major thank you to the foundation for allowing this kind of warm hug of what it feels like to have an author come to school and read his book to you and then talk about the process.
Thanks, Tracy. All right, item number 19, legislative update.
You know, I've tried to keep you up to speed on what's going on in the legislature. The big one that we're continuing to monitor is the budget bill. Went through the House, now at the Senate. So just kind of watching to see where that's going to finally end up. Sean and I look at the numbers. They have calculations in your packet. Sean has already given you a simulation of what those numbers look like, including also the ESSER funds and what that looks like. So we've been in contact with all of our legislators. I was just on a call Friday with some of our local legislators, and just making sure that we're in constant conversation. So as those as that continues to move forward, that we're also watching over all of the districts and just making sure the funding's there for kids in the future, but also specifically our community as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. The House version so far has us at about 0.25% increase, so very minimal help from the state, but we're not typically surprised by that these days. So, but we'll continue to monitor that through the process.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks, Jonathan. Item number 20, administrator commentary.
I just want to invite any of the board members who would like to come and experience senior prom this Friday. I know we have a couple of board members who have seniors this year, so whether you're allowed to or not, you can
Not
you
allowed.
can show up.
Not fair.
But we are, at the beginning of this year, I don't think any of us could have, we wondered, would events like this be possible? And a major credit to our high school team for recognizing how important milestones like prom are for our students. And major thank you to local partners. So Janet and Dave Nelson at the Manor House, who've worked with us to create a beautiful dinner event. And then our parents who are creating a red carpet entry so that students can really enjoy that moment together. They'll then go to our arena, and Todd and his crew have worked with the high school staff to make sure we are going to have a fantastic, safe event, but we will have dancing. It's not going to be footloose. While there was worry about that at some point, there will be opportunities to actually dance in our arena, and it will be safe. And then the incredible Casey Moran and After Prom team has sprung into action once again to have a really terrific after prom that includes all the things that people look forward to at our after prom. So incredibly decorated bathrooms that are always on the top of my list, hypnotist coming back, and I just am so thrilled that this class of 2021, who didn't get a chance to have prom last year, gets this Mason moment before they leave Mason High School.
Thanks, Tracy.
Wanted to take a moment to recognize two groups of people. One, last week was Administrative Professionals Week and Day, and I didn't want to let the moment pass without recognizing all of the things that they do to help make our schools great and to help serve our staff and our students and our families. I recognize every time I walk into a building that our administrative professionals are often the first face that we see. They set the tone. They help so much to make our schools safe and inviting. Coming in, 2 years ago, I also recognize that often our administrative professionals are invaluable institutional memory for us, and they offer support in just so many ways. So to all of our administrative professionals in the district, I have to also give a special shout out to Teresa Bird, who I just can't imagine working without her. Also to Deanna Wilson and Patty Ryan, who offer support to our learning support team. In addition, we could spend all night, I think, going through a list of amazing teachers here in Mason City Schools. I want to give a shout out to three in particular. We had not one, not two, but three nominees for Ohio's Teacher of the Year Award. And it's just really an incredible honor. They're nominated by somebody and then chosen to be recognized. So this year we have at Mason Elementary, Kristen Lazuda, who is nominated. At Mason Middle School, Ronnie Carpenter. And here at Mason High School, Shauna Parkinson. And so they now go on to the next level of application, and we wish them the best of luck. As you would imagine, and I think it's part of what ends up making them nominated, all of them are kind of, befuddled and saying, but there's so many people as I look around, my building who really should be nominated with me, and we know they're all amazing learners, so committed to our students and their colleagues. So we wish them the best of luck and congratulate them.
Thanks, Amy.
I just want to take a moment to say how much I appreciated working with Maria in regards to contract negotiations. She's our MEA president for the, our most recent contract negotiations. By working through several housekeeping items in advance, we were able to really expedite the negotiation process and do that successfully and move through negotiations and come to an agreement. So thank you.
Thanks, Tanya.
I wanted to take a moment to thank our teachers and our families, because despite the pandemic, the state of Ohio told us we had to pursue testing. And we've done so, and our teachers and our families they've been persevering, and despite an internet service outage, that also complicated things where some of our online families had to go home. But everybody handled that exceptionally well. They were patient, handled it with grace. So I think they lived out our culture guide, one of our behaviors, which is do the right thing even when it's hard. Mm-hmm. And everybody did that and did so with grace and professionalism, and I couldn't be more proud to be here.
Thanks, Christine.
Looking forward to graduation at the Linder Center on May 23rd at 2 p.m. I keep saying 1 o'clock to everybody to work in there. Tracy's like, Todd, if you say 1 o'clock again, we're going to have a problem. So it is at 2 p.m. on May 23rd. But it has been, it was one of those last minute things. Actually, one of our campus resource officers, Matt Hayes, brought it to my attention. He said, we do a lot of work at the tennis center. Have you thought of that? And just ding, 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 ding. I was in a meeting with Bobby Dodd and Brandon Rompes. We all looked at each other and went, oh my gosh, that's a brilliant idea. And from there, it took shape. We're working with a man by the name of Dick Clark at the tennis center. And he said he enjoys having that name. But nonetheless, it has been a pleasure. But what has stood out to me most is just watching the high school staff come into that tennis center and start looking at the way they're going to take Mason's graduation and make it happen there. Just that pride and innovation that comes out of our teachers and our administrators, I can see why our kids do so well and come in here with all these awards. But nonetheless, I also wanted to thank you for supporting the teacher's contract, the administrators, and definitely wanted to congratulate Tanya and Jonathan and Shawnee and the bargaining team. It's just a blessing to work in a district where people do things with such pizzazz and just classiness in the way that they handle things, and you all deserve a round of applause. Thank you for your work.
Thanks, Todd.
Well, with us being 1 year into our commitment to make the 2020 operating levy last at least 5 years, I also wanted to thank the MEA team and their group for working so collaboratively with the admin team and the board to make sure that we're staying on track to honor that commitment to our community. Being in the education business and a service industry, over 80% of our budget is spent on people and the staff that provide the services and support for our students and families. So that makes these negotiated agreements all that much more important. So we appreciate them and their support for helping make sure that we're on track to honor our community's investment and the stewardship that they've entrusted to us.
Thanks, Sean.
I just want to echo, Matt, you brought up earlier just, I carry it around all the time, a guide, and I'll have, 3 stacked on here at some point in time, and maybe we'll bring it down to 1 again. But, what I want to remind people is a guide is a place to start, and it's not perfect, but it's a place that gives us a common ground to start with, and you're exactly right. It's one of the things that I love about our culture that we've built here is that we have really embraced the idea that the work happens through relationships. We do not build products here. A beacon for many school districts across the nation to how do you do the work. And so the work is through relationships, and the work is continuing to move forward. And sometimes it will look different at different points in time, and that's a part of that relationship you have with community. And I would encourage, if anybody's just tuning in or paying attention to the work that happens here at a board meeting, that's just one slice of all the good work that's happening throughout the district. And as a part of a community, we lean into that, and we do that work together through relationships. So I'm so proud of the work that we do have with our guides, with the culture guide, with the personalized learning guide, and now with the one that we have under review with the inclusive excellence guide. And as we work towards that journey to 2030, that's one of the things that we want to do is help bring people along in understanding how that work comes together to inform and to inspire our future. So thanks for pointing that out. I just want to echo those words as well. Thanks.
Thanks, Jonathan. Item 21, board commentary. Desiree?
Oh, thanks, Charles. Gosh, I have so many things, and I'll try to keep it brief, but kind of to echo what Todd said, the negotiation process and the class and communication that it was conducted with. And it was important to us as a board to honor our teachers who led us through the pandemic, really, with such success. And it was territory that had never been seen before. And I'm glad we were able to honor that in the contract. And thank you for, the hours and hours that all of you and your other teammates put forward and fighting for, the people that you believe in and what you feel like they deserve. And I'm glad that the agreement came out how it did. And we were very pleased to be able to honor, the great people that we have under this roof. Second, thank you this is more of a personal note since I have a senior, but, my senior getting to experience prom and graduation as a whole. And I know there was a lot of work that went into that, a lot of thought. And, my heart still hurts for last year's seniors that missed that. So thank you.
Desiree? Matt?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of different things that we could say, and I could go on and on about what goes into kind of how I think about our contract and what goes into, our perspective on that and the process. But I'll try and pin it down to a couple of thoughts and say that one of the proudest things that things that I'm most proud of as being a member of this board now for coming up on 10 years is that this has always been a board, and it continues to be a board that understands that everything we do happens because of the amazingness of our professionals, of our staff, of our staff members who are interacting and doing the work of the mission. And that we know that we have rock stars, and we want to keep it that way, and we want to keep all of our talent developing and growing as professionals. We want everybody to be learning at all times. And I say that maybe a little bit for the community to the extent that other people, to the extent that anybody is watching, just to hear that unfortunately not every district has that kind of a board. That when they go into negotiations, there is at least one board member or two or more who don't start with that fundamental place of understanding and appreciation for what our professionals do. And so I just want to say that I'm proud to live in a district where our board does that, and there aren't many opportunities for us to try and demonstrate that. And it's still tough to demonstrate that when it comes to things like negotiating contracts, because at the end of the day, we're talking about how our professionals feel valued and compensated as professionals. And so there's just so much goes on into that, and we can't communicate fully the value that we see our teachers and our staff bringing to bear because we work in a system that has a way of resourcing that. And so all that to say, just I'm thrilled that we were able to come up with a contract that continues that stake in the ground of saying that we want to recognize and compensate our professional staff in such a way that honors where you are, and to be a leader in the area. Like, that's okay with us, and that's actually what we want. We want to know that we're in that top two or three, because we know that we want to keep our staff here, because we value what you do. And especially this year, I just can't say enough about how we've talked a lot about how we were able and how we made the decision to be in person and to give choice to families who weren't comfortable with being in person. And we have known all along that was not possible at all, like logistically, if we didn't have the support of our staff willing to step into that and value that and say, we want to be in the classroom too, the ones that are comfortable with it. But then also to do it with the excellence that you've done. We never had a doubt that it wouldn't be excellent, but man, I mean, our families have been blown away with the way that our staff has stepped up and led. And I follow our new Secretary of Education on Twitter, and I really like the guy, and I love what we're doing about talking about opening up schools nationally, but I've been politely trolling him when he talks about visiting schools and seeing how they're opening, to say, well, have you come to places like Mason where we've been open all year and see what our teachers actually did? And we're successful in it, and we're still doing amazing things in spite of those things, and maybe you could learn from our teachers and spread the word. So I'm gonna continue to politely troll until maybe I get a tweet back. But all that to say, I'm so glad that we live in a district where we have a relationship where we can have the kind of contract negotiations that we had, and that culture is important, but culture doesn't mean anything if people don't buy in on creating the culture and together putting down stakes and deciding how we interact with each other. And so we just thank you for that.
Thanks. Thanks,
you.
Matt. Kevin?
Well, I have no idea what trolling is. so. And I feel really good about that, actually. If I ever try to troll, it'll be ugly.
You've seen a lot of trolling on the internet.
Yeah, but it's so good to not even know what it is. Otherwise, that's maybe why I don't react. But keep trolling, whatever you're doing.
You're trolling us now. Kevin, I think you're trolling us now. I feel like a other level.
Couple things. One, Christine, you should have asked us about the testing if that was a problem. We could have solved that very easily.
Right.
But you know not to ask. But thank you to all the teachers and staff for managing in headwinds, even when the headwinds are thrown at us by people that just need to get out of government. So thank you for making that comment for our parents and students who managed through that. As far as the agreement goes, I disagree with Matt. It all starts with 5 board members who work together in a common way we don't start from the point of, with all due respect, maybe this is trolling, old school.
No, this is just out and out, just like throwing it at me.
Oh, calling it out? Okay, well, it's in the most polite way. What I mean is, in order to be able to get to even have the conversation about what our priorities are, we have to have a constant long-term vision and track record of executing in a way that even allows us to have it. And so I'm just saying that I want to step one step back and point to that. It's year after year after year of planning so that when contracts come up, they happen and come up from time to time. We're in a position to continue to compensate our staff at the high end of the market for Southwest Ohio, which is where they absolutely belong, and we'd get near unanimous support from our community on that topic. And so the job of the 5 of us is to make sure we can fulfill that contract. Because when a person goes to to vote on whatever topic, whether it's a board member or a levy or whatever, they're expecting the best. And so I appreciate the 4 of you, the 10 years that you've all had, short, long. Matt, 10 years, my goodness. That's
I actually had more hair.
That's impressive, yeah. And because to be in a position to sit down in a productive way to talk through how do we do this means we have to be in that position of of strength to even have it. And so I really appreciate that the success of this contract really goes back now 11 years to be able to do this. And I really appreciate our teachers for being with us, many of them through that entire journey. And still, the market is a very dangerous place. You can't beat the market, whether it's the market for labor or whether it's the stock market. You have to have a long-term plan and be in it for the long run to allow it to benefit you. And so I'm glad that we're able to get to this agreement. And 3 years is going to go like that, and then we'll be at it again. And our job, whoever's up here or us, is to be ready again to continue to fulfill that contract that our community expects and demands. And so I appreciate all of that. I can't let this time pass to just call it what it is. Our union stepped up during the last year while many others paused. And what I learned is what I learned out of the crisis of the pandemic is there's no time to change the team once crisis happens. Some people try to do that, and it's chaos. You got to develop the team over time to be strong enough to deal with crisis, and part of that is trust. There was no time to establish trust to step into a very uncertain and scary time. We had to already have that. And so what I appreciate is that we whether there's a contract up or not, we always have that long-term vision at the forefront of the decisions that we make. And I think from a generational standpoint, this last year will be as important as any other in the history of the school district. And it's now made it through 2 global pandemics. And I'm proud that this one, I'm sure, performed just as well as it did almost 100 years ago. So thank you to the 4 of you for managing through the process, and to all of your colleagues for trusting you with that role. And Maria, being the president, deserves special call out. And you've done a great service to this community through the work that you've done, and we appreciate it. So thank you all.
Thanks, Kevin.
And
Connie?
Matt, I owe you one.
You didn't really disagree with me, just to
I know,
yeah,
exactly.
it was actually great.
It sounded
Set
bad,
it up.
I know.
We just want to get their attention. Tonight definitely has a theme of relationship and the importance of relationships. And I think, again, it's a tool in your toolbox, and for Mason, I think it's the go-to tool, and I think it's more of who we are, who we try to be, and who we want to be. The relationship that, again, tonight I think has been highlighted, and it's so very important, is our relationship with the MEA. I've had the pleasure of seeing it over time, and not to reiterate comments that have been made earlier, there really are very few relationships that are more important than the one between your board and your teachers for the community. And I'll just speak from a personal position at this point. Every time we go through the negotiations process, it's really important to me that the message above all others is that we see what you do every day. We value what you do every day. And our families, we know, value what you do every day. And that's the message that, for me personally, I know it's what others want as well, but I'm just going to take the opportunity to speak for me right now and thank you all very, very much for your attitude of going through the process and the relationship that you have built and allowed to be built over the last 21 some years for me. Thank you.
Thanks, Connie. And I have already taken my fair share of time to comment tonight. I will just echo the other comments of our board members. I'll wish our senior class a happy and safe senior prom this weekend. We are confident and looking forward to the wise decisions you will make as you make memories and Mason moments with your classmates. And I'll also echo one other thing. I didn't get to mention this earlier, but just again on the contract piece, I did want to highlight one. We talk about kind of the give and take process of negotiations. One of the areas I wanted to highlight that I don't think I did earlier was our staff's and unions' willingness to work with us as we move forward and work on stretching our general fund dollars and our recent levy dollars as far into the future as we can, and honoring that commitment to try and make that stretch at least 5 years, being willing to contribute additional money to their healthcare expenses and going up from 10 to 15% of that employer contribution. That's a significant number, and our community is appreciative of that, and I wanted to just make sure that got emphasized as well. So with that, and the end of our board commentary, our last item on the agenda is adjournment. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, thank you, everybody.